Hey everyone, this is Alex, founder and host of Tiger Talk Podcast. Today's episode is called the Early Signing Day Special Episode because it is just that. We have a lot to get into it, so let's do it. Alrighty, everyone. Welcome to today's episode, the early signing day episode. It is titled that because it is just that. Before we get into it, I just want to apologize. My voice, um, definitely have a really bad cold. It could be a viral infection. Hopefully, it's not strep. You know, this time of the year, a lot of stuff goes around. So, my apologies for the way my voice sounds. My apologies for probably having to put the mic on mute while I baptize my tonsils with water and Gatorade. So, I apologize for me sounding like I do, but I could not pass up the opportunity on what it has been for LSU these past couple of days because it hasn't been normal. And to be honest, has this past couple months for LSU fans been normal? Absolutely not. So, you know, we just concluded, in my opinion, one of the most unpredictable, consequential weeks in LSU football history. Under a new voice, now that echoes in Tiger Stadium, under a new vision that has been set forth by the new head coach, Lane Kiffin, who I am a huge fan of. You can go back to my previous episode, I talk about the hiring of Lane Kiffin. And guys, Lane Kiffin has had the ability to do something. He did not have months to prepare. He had literally hours and days, not even weeks, hours and days to secure a class that will define the start of his tenure. He didn't just hold the line, he went on the attack. We're talking about 5-star difference makers choosing Baton Rouge over the entire nation. That is huge. We're talking about flipping elite talent from SEC rivals. We're talking about the best of the Bayou State staying home to build something historic. And that is so huge in my personal opinion. Today, these young men didn't just sign their names to a contract, they signed their names to a legacy. They chose the challenge, they chose the chaos, they chose to be the foundation of the next chapter in LSU football, and quite frankly, just like us LSU fans, they chose to embrace the villain role. The future has arrived, guys, and the trenches are getting deeper, the secondary is getting faster, and the foundation is set. So, welcome to the show, guys. This is the LSU Early Signing Day special. Let's get into this next generation of Bayou Bengals. And before I start, I just want to say all my links will be tagged in the description. Subscribe to this podcast. I'm just an LSU fan. I'm a passionate LSU fan just like y'all who loves LSU, who grew up going to LSU games my whole life. My dad was an LSU equipment manager from 1985 to 1988, so I grew up learning and understanding the history and tradition of what LSU is, and I'm just a fan just like y'all. This podcast is available where you can download where podcast. It will be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Tiger Talk Podcast is available. I'm also available on YouTube also. So a lot of fun things to get into there. Also, all my links will be in the description. Check it out. I encourage you. I also have my own clothing brand called SEC 316, which combines my two favorite passions. Number one, my love and passion for Jesus Christ and seeing souls get saved. And number two, the SEC, specifically LSU football. So SEC 316 combines both of those passions. If you're not an LSU fan, good for you. On my website, we have all 16 SEC schools. So shameful, unshameful plug there. So, guys, just thank you so much. I've recently had 50 downloads, and it means a lot. Listen, I'm starting this podcast in infancy from a passion, from genuine, authentic fandom. And right now, I am my own writer. I am my own producer. I'm my own everything. And I thank you so much for hanging out with me and enjoying the ride. You may hear in the background two of my cats. They are super wild right now, and they love chasing each other right when I love to just start doing my podcast. So I apologize for the background noise, and again, I apologize for my voice. But guys, let's get into it. So today, what an absolute signing day it was for the early signing day. It appears to be shaping up strongly, especially considering the recent coaching change to Lane Kiffin. And like I stated, guys, he had hours and days to really get this thing rolling, and I find that really impressive. This class is ranked highly nationally and includes several top prospects with a focus on securing Louisiana's best talent. 5-star signees, Lamar Brown, defensive line, a massive win for the staff. Brown is a consensus 5-star prospect and was considered one of the top overall players in the nation and the number one prospect in Louisiana. That is huge. In Louisiana, you go back to Lane Kiffin's press conference, and he said he is so determined to get talent, get rich talent, and that starts with recruiting inside the state. And Lamar Brown is a key example of that. Richard Anderson, defensive line, another 5-star defensive lineman and top prospect from New Orleans. Key positional depths, wide receiver. LSU secured a strong group including 4-star talents Jabari Mack and Corey Barber. Barber and another wideout, Braden Allen, notably flipped their commitments to sign with LSU. Offensive line, the Tigers signed key players like 4-star offensive tackle Bryson Martinez and 3-star Ryan Merritt, who flipped from Ole Miss following Lane Kiffin. Defensive backs. This class has addressed the secondary with signees like 4-star cornerback Havion Finney and safeties Aiden Hall and Desarian Ellis. Signed high school prospects, which I think is huge. Again, referencing high school prospects, not just also in the transfer portal. So let's get to the high school prospect side. Lamar Brown, defensive lineman / edge, 5-star from Baton Rouge. Richard Anderson, defensive lineman, 5-star from New Orleans. Jabari Mack, wide receiver, 4-star, Destrehan. Bryson Martinez, offensive tackle, 4-star, Gonzales. Corey Barber, wide receiver, 4-star, Pinson, Alabama. He flipped from Ole Miss. Aiden Hall, safety, 4-star, New Orleans. Havion Finney, center back, 4-star, Los Angeles, California. That's huge in my personal opinion because he chose LSU over other schools across the nation. J.C. Anderson, tight end, 4-star, Decatur, Illinois. Deuce Gerald, who I'm super excited to see. Defensive line, 4-star, Sewanee, Georgia. And Trenton Henderson, edge, 4-star, Pensacola, Florida. Transfer portal additions. In addition to the high school class, LSU has been active in the transfer portal to fill immediate needs. A number of key transfers have signed or announced their commitment, including Patrick Payton, an edge from Florida State, Nick Anderson, wide receiver from Oklahoma, Barian Brown, wide receiver from Kentucky, Jamari Butler, edge from Nebraska, and Jakeem Jackson, center back from Florida. Overall, this early signing period shows the new coaching staff's focus on securing elite talent in the trenches, in the defensive line, and the offensive line, and immediate impact players through the transfer portal, specifically at the wide receiver and edge rusher position. Now, I want to also quote what Lane Kiffin said on his Twitter account. I still call it Twitter, X, whatever it may be. And what he says, I think, is extremely telling for how his signing day went. And he said, quote, "As my dad always said, son, it always starts with the D-line up front. The best defensive line class in the history of LSU football. Lamar Brown, the number 1 overall player. Rich Anderson, the number 1 overall. Deuce Gerald's number 3 overall. Edge Trenton Henderson, number 77 overall player." And again, Lane Kiffin said, quote, "As my dad always said, son, it always starts with the D-line up front." And that he did. The trenches, the defensive line, and the playmakers at wide receiver are often the most crucial positions in the SEC, in my personal opinion. Here's a detailed breakdown of LSU's D-line and wide receiver signees from the early signing period. Lamar Brown, 5-star, number 1 overall. Guys, I think this is a massive win. The top-ranked players in Louisiana and potentially the nation's number 1 overall prospect. A versatile force. He is expected to play defensive line or edge. His signing solidifies the program's ability to keep the best local talent at home. That is crucial. That is so crucial to make that statement, not only under Lane Kiffin's new leadership and new vision as he's the new head coach for LSU football in this next generation, but to keep Louisiana talent in the state. That is so huge. That is huge in my personal opinion. Richard Anderson, defensive tackle, 5-star. A dominant run stuffer and high motor interior presence. At 6'3", 360 pounds, he provides immediate massive size and power to the interior of the defensive line, helping to shore up LSU's run defense. Deuce Gerald, defensive line. I am personally a massive Deuce Gerald fan. I cannot wait to see him in this LSU rotation. He's a 4-star. A highly rated interior lineman from Georgia who provides excellent depth and power. His signing was a battle against other SEC programs, highlights the new staff's national reach. Trenton Henderson, edge, 4-star. A long, athletic edge rusher from Florida, listed around 6'5". He brings the necessary speed and length to pressure the passer off the edge, a critical need for SEC defense. A critical need. The defensive line class is elite, in my personal opinion, securing 2 top-tier 5-star prospects in Brown and Anderson gives this new staff building blocks for the years to come. This group is focused on size, strength, and wrestling the passer, which is foundational to competing in the SEC. Wide receiver breakdown. Guys, the wide receiver class is marked by strategic flips, in my personal opinion, and a focus on adding play-making depth, especially valuable given the history of early NFL departures at this position for LSU. So, Jabari Mack, 4-star. The top in-state wideout from Destrehan, Louisiana. Let me repeat that. The top in-state wideout from Destrehan, Louisiana. Once again, this Lane Kiffin and company keeping in-state talent in the boot. The top in-state wideout from Destrehan, Louisiana. He's a tough, physical receiver known for his ability to gain yards after the catch and operate effectively both outside and in the slot. Corey Barber, 4-star. A key flip from Lane Kiffin's former school, Ole Miss. Barber is an explosive playmaker from Alabama, known for his track speed and ability to stretch the field vertically. His signing shows Kiffin's ability to retain former recruiting relationships. Emphasis on recruiting relationships. Braden Allen, 3-star. Another strategic flip, this one from Oklahoma. Allen is a high upside Louisiana product who offers great size and a wide catch radius, adding a different dimension to the receiving room. I'm very interested to see how Braden Allen plays out his career at LSU. While there wasn't a consistent top 10 national receiver, this group is solid. I truly believe this group is solid, featuring 3 players who committed or flipped in the immediate lead up to signing day. This class prioritizes both speed with Barber and physicality with Mack, ensuring a diverse skill set to fit the new offensive system, Lane's offensive system. The addition of several wide receivers via the transfer portal also complements this high school group by bringing immediate collegiate experience. And I truly believe, guys, the merging or the marriage, whatever you want to call it, of the high school recruits to the immediate collegiate experience, you mix those two, you are truly set to build something historic, build something sustaining, and build something dominant. Transfer portal. This is where the new LSU staff, led by Lane, is expected to make significant waves. The early signing period focuses mostly on high school prospects, but the transfer portal is where Kiffin is known to build his immediate depth and fill roster gaps. The expectation is that the January portal window will be even bigger for LSU than in the December signing day, in my personal opinion. However, even during this early period, the Tigers have already started to secure key transfers, particularly from players who know Kiffin's system or who are feeling desperate needs, mainly on defense. So here's a breakdown of that. Edge, rusher, and tight end. LSU has struggled to consistently generate pressure off the edge. Outside of 1 or 2 stars, they need immediate pass rushing help. Prince Will Unamilian, Ole Miss transfer from Nebraska, a top-tier pass rusher who had great success under Kiffin's staff and is a prime candidate to follow. Wide receiver. While the high school class is good, LSU is often dealing with wide receivers leaving early for the NFL. Kiffin needs veteran playmakers for his system, in my own opinion. Caleb Cunningham from Ole Miss, a top wide receiver from the Rebels who fits the size and vertical threat profile Kiffin likes. Nick Anderson from Oklahoma and Barian Brown from Kentucky are names also linked to LSU for their high-end speeds. Defensive backs. The defensive backfield often needs a complete overhaul to regain DBU status again, and the portal offers quick, experienced fixes. Mansour Delane from Virginia Tech, Bernard Gooden from Clemson, A.J. Halsey, New Mexico. These were reported defensive portal wins for LSU's previous staff and are expected to solidify the secondary. I'm a massive Mansour Delane fan. Huge Mansour Delane fan. Quarterback. Kiffin always looks for a competitive quarterback. If a highly rated prospect or a veteran who knows the scheme becomes available, he will target them. I'm from the 318, so not this signing period, but next we already have Peyton Houston, Pop Houston. I absolutely love him. I adore him. Can't wait for him to get to Baton Rouge. But I do believe until then, I do believe a lot of the buzz is around Trinidad Chamberlain, and we will see about that. But it is so crucial, Kiffin always looks for a competitive quarterback. If a highly rated prospect or a veteran who knows the scheme becomes available, he will target them. Austin Simmons from Ole Miss, Kiffin's backup at Ole Miss, who is familiar with the system and could provide competition or a reliable backup in Baton Rouge. We'll just see how the chips fall. Due to Kiffin's recent move from Ole Miss, most of, in my personal opinion, or most likely and sought after transfers are those who were successful under him in Oxford. This provides an immediate competitive advantages for LSU as these players can transition seamlessly without a learning curve in the offense or defensive schemes. And again, keywords there is for LSU to transition seamlessly without a learning curve in the offense or defensive schemes. We'll just have to see, guys, how that falls. Looking ahead, for the December early signing day period, it was, I think, as good as you can expect from the time that Lane had. This is a quote from Tingle & Co. The best D-line class in the country belongs to LSU. Lamar Brown, the number 1 player in America. Richard Anderson, the number 24 player in America. Deuce Gerald, number 48 player in America. Trenton Henderson, the number 56 player in America, is a special group. This is a quote from Tingle & Co. He said, "Why did Lane Kiffin come to #LSU? Well, he just signed more 5-stars in 5 days at LSU than he did in 6 years at Ole Miss." And guys, that is a quote from Tingle & Company. Love those guys. Love that podcast. They are absolutely right. That quote right there. Why did Lane Kiffin come to LSU? Well, he just signed more 5-stars in 5 days at LSU than he did in 6 years at Ole Miss. End quote from Tingle & Co. Guys, that is an unbelievable stat. So much Lane Kiffin himself, we treated that. Unbelievable. I mean, you put that in perspective, like Lane Kiffin said, it's just different here in the Bayou. It truly is. And boy, does that put things in perspective. So, I think today, these past couple of days for December, for the early signing period, was a success. As much as success as it can be. And let's look ahead towards January and the portal window, which I think January and the portal window is really where you're going to see Lane and his staff cook. Honestly, I'm super excited. I think a lot more things will be clearer. What Lane Kiffin has been able to do within days to communicate his vision, to sell his vision to these high school prospects, to keep them, for them to sign, and for transfer portal, for Lane to sell his vision, I think in January is going to be much more redefined, and what a huge success I believe it has already been. And I think in January in the portal window, that's where we're really going to get cooking, and I'm excited. The current early signing period has now closed. The transfer portal will open again in January, which is when the real flurry of activity is expected for LSU. The coaching staff can now focus entirely on evaluating and pursuing transfers to compete the 2026 roster before spring practices begin. Let me repeat. This staff, Lane and his staff, can now focus entirely on evaluating and pursuing transfers to complete the 2026 roster before spring practices begin. It's massive. Very, very massive. So one thing I kind of want to get into is Lane Kiffin's recruiting philosophy. Kiffin's approach to recruiting and roster construction is highly modern, defined by an aggressive and simple mission to put the best collection of players together using every tool available. Number 1, the dual threat roster, building high school plus transfer portal. Kiffin's philosophy is centered on mastering both talent pipelines, which he refers to as being able to get the best players out of high school and out of the transfer portal. And as I said earlier in the episode, when you merge that, when those things are married together and both equally great, you get something very, very special. The transfer portal master. Kiffin has mastered talent acquisition in the transfer portal, which is seen as exactly what a high resource program like LSU needs for immediate title contention. He has a history of finding talent where others are not, turning 3-star prospects into top performers, and finding, honestly, hidden gems. Lane himself has stated that the opening of the transfer portal left him no choice but to accept the LSU job quickly, highlighting the portal's immediate priority. His staff's ability to use the portal is a critical component that defines success in the modern SEC. High school focus. Home state first. While utilizing the portal heavily, Kiffin's philosophy places a primary emphasis on securing top high school talent. He stated that the mission is simple, quote, bring the best players in the country to LSU, and stressed that it starts right here in the state of Louisiana, end quote. And Kiffin met the number 1 recruit in the nation, Lamar Brown, on his first night in Baton Rouge to solidify the commitment. Hold on one second, guys. Alrighty, guys, I am back. So sorry about that. I had to baptize my tonsils with some water again. I am sorry I sound like the way I do. I'm getting over a viral infection, and so sorry that I sound the way I do. So let's go back. As I said, quote unquote, Lane said it starts right here in the state of Louisiana. Kiffin met the number 1 recruit in the nation, Lamar Brown, on his first night in Baton Rouge to solidify the commitment. Leverage and resources. The philosophy is built on leveraging the considerable advantages LSU provides. LSU, the brand. Kiffin noted that LSU, as a brand, is a strong draw for all high school recruits and pairs well with his history of recruiting success. Financial backing. NIL. The program is committed to ensuring the football team has ample financial backing to pay players, giving Kiffin a competitive NIL pool and allowing him to swing a big bat to land top talent. Number 3, immediate roster improvement. Lane's recruiting is focused on building the best roster possible for immediate success. The core idea is that the current landscape rosters can be replenished at warp speed, and focusing on acquiring talent quickly is paramount. This strategy is less about the long game and more about winning the off-season by aggressively securing talent to fit his system. So, that in a nutshell is Lane's philosophy. And I will say this. January, I think, is going to get much more refined. And I'm excited about it. I also want to state Tulane is poised to hire LSU's defensive coordinator, Blake Baker. The LSU fan in me, I don't want Blake Baker to leave. I want him to stay. I want him to stay a couple more years to merge with Lane, because he has done a phenomenal job at LSU. A phenomenal job at LSU. And I just would hate to see him leave. I think if he could stay at LSU for a couple more years and win a championship on staff at LSU in X amount of years, then these bigger schools will come calling much more quickly. But the professional side of me understands, listen, he graduated from Tulane. This is an opportunity for him. He desires to be a head coach. This opportunity for him, he cannot pass up. So I understand the professional in me for taking that job opportunity. And all I can say is, man, it's bittersweet. I want to thank Blake Baker for everything that he's done to bring the leadership, to bring the dominance, to bring the swagger, to bring the absolute dogs out of his players on this defensive front when he's coaching. And he's going to be missed. He's going to be deeply missed. But his impact for LSU is absolutely invaluable in my personal opinion. Something that I want to get into is Lane and company. He was reported to be in Baton Rouge, Elijah Robinson. And I want to get into Elijah Robinson for his excellence as a defensive line coach and an elite recruiter, particularly for his work at Texas A&M and his history of developing players who reach the NFL. He is currently the co-defensive coordinator and defensive line coach at Syracuse. Again, as of today, December 5th, is reported that he was in Baton Rouge physically. I believe, obviously talking to Lane, touring the football facility, and nothing has been official from LSU or from him to say that he will be the next defensive line coach. But man, I really hope Lane and company can close that deal, because I just go back to the word elite for Elijah Robinson. Background and coaching trajectory. Robinson is a former defensive tackle for the Penn State Nittany Lions from 2004 to 2007. His coaching career has been marked by a consistent climb through the ranks, often serving under Matt Rhule. So let's kind of just break it down. 2009 through 2013, he was at Penn State. He was a grad assistant, defensive line coach, and an NFL liaison. He served under Bill O'Brien. 2014 through 2016, he was at Temple. He was a defensive line coach, run game coordinator. He mentored 6 All-American Athlete Conference selections. 2017, he was at Baylor. He was the defensive line coach. Coached all Big 12 linemen under Ira Lewis. 2018 through 2023, Texas A&M defensive line coach, co-DC interim head coach. Named by 24/7 Sports the #1 recruiter for the 2022 cycle. Served as an interim head coach for the final 2 games of 2023. And of course, 2024 to present, he was at Syracuse for co-defensive coordinator and DL coach. Transitioned to co-DC after serving as defensive coordinator. Coaching and player development. Robinson is particularly known for his ability to develop talent in the trenches, which is super key. Consistently mentoring defensive linemen who achieve all conference and NFL success. He has an NFL track record. Under his guidance, 4 players have been selected in the 4th round or earlier of the NFL draft. At Texas A&M, every starter on his 2021 defensive line signed NFL contracts. Let me repeat that again. At Texas A&M, every starter on his 2021 defensive line signed NFL contracts. And those notable players he has coached included Hassan Reddick, Temple; Matt Iondalis, Temple; Justin Motobeek, Texas A&M; DeMarvion Leal, Texas A&M. Defensive success. His units consistently rank nationally, especially against the run. Texas A&M's defense was top 20 nationally in rushing defense on 3 occasions, 2018, 2020, and 2023, and finished as high as 3rd nationally in running defense in 2018. The 2016 Temple Rush defense ranked number 2 in the AAC and 25th nationally. Recruiting prowess. Robinson's reputation as one of the best recruiters in the country is based on his success in landing elite national defensive line prospects. He was National Recruiter of the Year. He was named the 24/7 Sports National Recruiter of the Year for the 2022 cycle, which was instrumental in Texas A&M signing the nation's #1 overall recruiting class. Again, it was instrumental in Texas A&M signing the nation's #1 overall recruiting class. Guys, he has a national reach. I repeat, a national reach. His success was driven by securing signatures from top-tier out-of-state talent, including 5-star defensive tackle Walter Nolan from Tennessee. He has a player-coach connection. Robinson is described as being beloved by players and is known for connecting with recruits on a personal level, which was evident when several key Texas A&M commits initially flipped to Syracuse after he took the job there, and I do believe actions speak louder than words. What is his coaching philosophy? Again, I've always said in the beginning of this process, and Lane, I trust. So, what is Coach Robinson's coaching philosophy? His philosophy centers on adapting his scheme to his players' strengths rather than forcing players into a rigid system. If that little section was a sermon, that can preach itself. That is so key for a coach to have the gifting, okay? To have the gifting to see a player and to coach, that player's strengths rather than forcing players into a rigid system, which can be, to me, kind of robotic and you lose the authentic feel. And I feel like players lose the authentic feel if they're kind of put into forcing players into a rigid system. Personal overall scheme. When he joined Syracuse, he told players, quote, "You're not fitting into my system," quote. Instead, he focuses on putting the best players on the field and adjusting the defensive X's and O's to fit the personnel strengths. Accountability and development. He is known for a no shortcuts mindset, demanding quote-unquote buy-in and accountability from his players. He focuses on developing second-string players to be ready like starters. That's huge. So that is Elijah Robinson's coaching philosophy. Again, I hate the LSU fan in me hates to see Blake Baker go. Don't want him to. But the professional side of me, I will never ever criticize a man or a woman if they have the opportunity to climb in their professional career. I'll never look down at that. I trust Lane Kiffin. I really do. You have some LSU fans that are freaking out about a quote-unquote max exodus from coaching personnel and etc. Guys, Lane Kiffin, you can't get mad at Lane Kiffin for being hired and Lane Kiffin doing what he's doing. I have absolute trust in Lane Kiffin. Yes, I'm going to miss Blake Baker, but I don't fault him whatsoever. I am beyond thankful for Blake Baker in his time and season at LSU, and I wish him the best. But now we got to move the page forward, and Elijah Robinson, in my personal opinion, is an absolute home run hire. And I am not worried whatsoever on the offensive side of the ball. Lane knows the defensive side of the ball. He is going to hire someone who has that same passion for the game like he does, who has that same savant mindset, that defensive mindset. And I really hope within the next couple of days that it's official that Elijah Robinson is the new defensive coordinator for LSU. I just think that would be such a home run hire, and to have both sides of the field, because us LSU fans, we know we've been under the BK, the Brian Kelly era. We've had the defense be horrible and the offense play great. And then vice versa. We've had the defense play great and the offense playing horrible. So to have a balanced both sides of the ball system, a dominant and balanced offense, a dominant and balanced defense, then yes, I believe the sky's the limit for LSU. Now, I may be hitting critical here, but I don't believe LSU is going to be in the national championship next year. Guys, I do see a mini rebuild for Lane Kiffin and his staff, but I trust Lane. I trust every decision that he makes. Verge Osbury said it the best in a press conference. He said, there is no reason LSU needs to be in the college football playoffs every single year. And yes, I do believe next season LSU is going to be in the college football playoffs. I do not doubt that Lane Kiffin and company is going to win a national championship at LSU. And I believe that Lane Kiffin, if he stays at LSU, will win national championships at LSU. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that whatsoever. But I'm talking about the here and now for the next season. Early signing day was a success. Lane Kiffin really works in the transfer portal that starts next month in January. I go back to a clearer, redefined vision. Every day, every week, every month that passes, that Lane Kiffin has set his staff, things get more stabilized. It's going to get, LSU is going to get more dominant. I'm not worried that LSU's not going to win a national championship under Lane Kiffin. I know that they will. I am beyond confident. But for next season, I just want to focus. Can we just make it to the playoffs? Can we be the team that makes the playoff? And can we be a team that hosts a playoff? Can we be a team that hosts a playoff? My mindset is LSU win 10 games next year. And I absolutely believe that they can. I'm going to be at a lot of LSU home games next year. I had a great conversation with my dad a couple of days ago, and oh yeah, we're going to be down in Baton Rouge. Especially we're going to be down for game 1 under the Lane Kiffin era in Tiger Stadium. That better be a night game, by the way, against Dabo Swinney and Clemson. So, guys, what a day. What an early signing day it has been these past couple of days, and what an early signing day special episode this was. Guys, I'm just an LSU fan like you. Thank you so much for listening. Like and subscribe. Share with your friends. Share with your buddies. Share with, heck, even if I have my guys listening out there, share with your girlfriends. Listen, just because you are a female doesn't mean that you're ignorant to sports. That will preach, but I digress. I am the only daughter out of nothing but brothers, and my dad can testify. I am the biggest LSU fan out of all my siblings. And I'm a girl. I'm a lady. So the fandom, the love for LSU, the fandom, the love for sports, the SEC, is not gender specific. Thank God. You just have to have a passion. And I'm thankful that I can share my passion with y'all on this podcast. Guys, all my links are in the description. Follow me on all socials. Subscribe, download this podcast. I'm also on YouTube. Hit the like and share on YouTube. Send to your friends, send to your family, send to your girlfriends. You know, I know some girls just zone out with sports, but maybe if they hear another female talking about sports, they're gonna, have much more intrigue. And I love my fellow LSU ladies out there. You can get this podcast wherever podcasts are available. Also, I have my own clothing brand called SEC 316. What does that mean? It combines my two favorite passions, Jesus Christ and seeing the lost get saved in the verse John 3:16 and the SEC, specifically LSU football. And the link to my website is in the link description below, and it's on all my socials. Guys, every sale equals a soul. What does that mean? Whenever you purchase anything from SEC 316, all that money does not go to me. It goes directly back to ministries to see the lost get saved. Because at the end of the day, in my personal opinion, that's all that matters. Guys, I am excited. I'm excited about the beginnings of what we all know, what we can feel as fellow LSU fans is going to be great. It's going to be a great era under Lane Kiffin. I say embrace the villain role. I'm not scared. I mean, guys, not just LSU football, but last night I'm pretty sure I was like y'all, watching LSU women's basketball. Coach Kim Mulkey, LSU women's basketball going into Duke and just absolutely putting up 90-plus points. Unbelievable. You won't hear the national media say that. You would hear the national media talk about LSU women's basketball, but when they were losing, but they didn't put up the final score. Guys, it's time for us to embrace this villain role, and I'm here for it. Not just for LSU football, but for LSU women's basketball. LSU's men's basketball is doing some great things, and I'm happy for them. LSU baseball, I feel another Omaha National Championship season loading. I mean, if you're an LSU fan, what a great day to be a Tiger. And just the era we've been living in since 2019. You talk about LSU as a brand. Unbelievable. Guys, I'm an LSU fan. Through and through. I want LSU to win championships. Not just in football. But yes, football, baseball, gymnastics, women's soccer, the golf team, the fishing team, track and field, tennis. Every realm of LSU athletics, I want LSU to freaking dominate and bring home a natty. Period. And to see the staff that we have, Kim Mulkey, Jay Johnson, Jay Clark, now Lane Kiffin. Unbelievable. I'm super excited. I think even more news is to come in the transfer portal. LSU women's basketball, LSU men's basketball, that season's in full swing. And I hope to catch a game at the PMAC. And then right after that, we're going to be in baseball season under Jay Johnson. And I called it last year when I was studying the team last year around this time, and I posted it on my socials, and I said LSU baseball is gonna win the national championship, and they did. And guys, Jay Johnson over recruits, and I love it. There's no reason why LSU baseball should not go right back at it. And then once we're winding down baseball season, or if we're celebrating another natty, boom, it's gonna be LSU football season. LSU, I love it. I talk about it, I get too emotional. But I love LSU. That place, like I quote Lane, it's just different. It's just different. It's elite. It's the Cathedral College football. It's magical. Alright guys, thank you so much for listening to this early signing day special episode. Again, download Tiger Talk Podcast where all podcasts are available. You can download it anywhere podcasts are available. Also, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's where you can catch all my Tiger Talk podcast episodes also. All my links are in the description. Please like, share, follow, download, whatever you want to do. And thank you so much for the downloads. Thank you so much for the support. I'm an LSU fan just like you. I have a passion of a fan, and I know I am in a huge LSU family that loves their Tigers just like you. Exciting days ahead. Exciting days to be a Tiger. Exciting days to be in the bayou. And I just can't wait. I really can't. Truly, no pun on words, I feel like a golden era in LSU history. A golden era in LSU history. And I'm excited, and I know you are. Guys, thank you so much. Check me out on all my socials. All the links will be in the description. Like and share on my YouTube channel. Download the podcast where all podcasts are available for download. Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, etc. Until next time, this is Tiger Talk Podcast.